A few weeks back, we brought you a detailed review of the Volkswagen T-Roc. We loved it for its quirky design, its performance and handling, and Volkswagen's rock-solid build quality. But it isn't a perfect car. The fit and finish on the dashboard and the interiors isn't something that you'd expect from a 20 lakh rupee car, and the space in the backseat isn't something to write home about either. The Skoda Karoq promises to address both these concerns. It is based on the same platform and exactly the same engine in the same state of tune as the T-Roc. It does, however, demand 5 lakh more than the T-Roc. What is it that the Karoq gets over and above the T-Roc? Is it worth your money then, or should you place your bet on the T-Roc instead? Well, let's find out. Underneath, both cars may be based on the same platform and engine, but on the outside they are poles apart. But before we get into detail about each one individually, let me confess, I have a greater inclination towards European designs for their modest cues than the swanky designs of most Asian brands. Coming back to the cars in question then, the T-Roc charms with its unorthodox design elements like the DRLs that double up as turn indicators and the coupe-like C-pillar. The Karoq, on the other hand, is surely more SUV-ish and mainstream in its design and doesn't quite feel as spellbinding. But considering that it is focused towards luxury, the Kodiaq-inspired design works pretty well too. A quick glance at both the cars is enough to decipher that the Karoq is the bigger of the two. The Skoda is considerably longer and taller than the Volkswagen. In fact, it has a longer wheelbase too, and that is something that is evident inside the cabin as well. But more on that later. The difference between the price of the Karoq and the T-Roc is a lot more evident from the moment you step inside the cabin of the Karoq. Everything looks and feels a lot more upmarket here. Quality of materials, the fit and finish is a lot more better as well. In fact, it won't be too bold to say that the Karoq's interior is probably the best in class. In fact, as far as the dashboard is concerned, it gets a very clean and uncluttered look. It gets ambient lighting with brushed aluminum accents right above the glove box. It gets a large 8-inch touchscreen unit in the center, which by the way is the same size as the T-Roc, but owing to the fact that this is a colored unit, it feels a lot more richer as well. The steering wheel has been borrowed from the Superb and looks and feels quite premium as well. Behind the wheel, you get an all-digital instrument cluster, the virtual cockpit. This one too feels marginally richer than the one that you get in the T-Roc. As far as overall comfort and the interior bits are concerned, the driver's seat is better. It gets better bolstering. It also gets electronic adjustment in the Karoq, something that the T-Roc misses out on. In terms of overall spaciousness of the cabin, it feels a lot more airier thanks to the usage of brighter colored materials and a larger panoramic sunroof. Around the back, the larger dimensions and the longer wheelbase of the Karoq is quite evident. There is more leg, knee and foot room for the passengers. In fact, taller passengers will be a lot more comfortable in the Karoq than in the T-Roc. Although it does have more space, that is not to say that the Karoq can seat 3 people abreast in the back seat with ease. Neither of these two cars can, let's be very clear about that. As far as the boot space is concerned, the Karoq has a 521-litre cargo space in comparison to the T-Roc's 445 litres. Moving on to the T-Roc, its interior doesn't quite look exceptional by any means. There are rough and hard plastics all around that don't quite exude the same sense of premiumness that you see in the Karoq. Customization options that you get in the European spec model of the T-Roc are not available in India, which somewhat robs it of the cool quotient of the interior. What you get instead is a gunmetal finish on the face of the dash. Up in the center, it gets an 8-inch unit. Although it is the same size as the Karoq, it doesn't look as vibrant because this is not a colored unit. The story is similar for the digital instrument cluster as well. The difference between the Karoq and the T-Roc, however, is this cabin is a lot more driver focused, and that is something you figure out with the center console leaning gradually just a wee bit towards the driver side, and you also get this flat bottom steering wheel. In addition to some of the features that the Karoq offers, the T-Roc also get heated seats, which in my opinion is kind of pointless in Indian conditions, for most Indian conditions, unless you stay up in the hills. Other bits, the seat is rather comfortable. It has decent enough bolstering as well, but not as much as the Karoq. You don't get electric adjustment for the driver's seat. You get a manual adjust right here, which is quite a bit of downer if you ask me. As far as space goes, the T-Roc doesn't quite feel as spacious as the Karoq. It feels cramped, it has compact dimensions, and that is something that shows on the inside, especially in the back seat. Taller adults might feel a little bit cramped for room in comparison to the Karoq. The seat back for the rear seat passengers is a bit too upright in both cars for my liking, and that I feel somewhat might steal the comfort in long distance driving.
Features list is reasonably long on both cars and includes LED headlamps and tail lamps, automatic headlamps, rain sensing wipers, heated ORVMs, 2-zone climate control, electromechanical parking brake, and more. The Karoq does, however, gain an edge thanks to its electrically adjustable driver's seat with memory function, cruise control, aluminium sport pedals, and 2 additional speakers. Although both cars have scored a perfect 5-star in the Euro NCAP test, the Karoq scores marginally better in terms of safety thanks to its class-leading 9 airbags. The T-Roc, on the other hand, also gets lane keeping aid.
Both cars are powered by a 1.5-litre turbocharged petrol motor that makes about 148 bhp and 250 Nm of torque. The torque kicks in as low as about 1600 RPM and stays strong right up till the 3500 RPM mark, which makes both of them incredibly easy to drive, whether it is in the city or out on the highway. The difference, however, is in the way the power is delivered. The Karoq here feels relatively more relaxed, a little bit easygoing in comparison to the T-Roc that feels a little more energetic and eager to go. That is not to say that the Karoq is slow or sluggish by any means. It still feels quite quick. It is in fact very composed and very mature in the way it delivers its power.
The sober nature of the engine could be a result of the additional weight and size of the Karoq.
Performance expectedly is similar on both cars. After all, they have the same engine under the hood. The T-Roc here feels marginally eager and might just be marginally quicker to reach the 100 kmph mark, but that is only something that you would realize when you connect it with the V-Box, and in my opinion isn't quite a deal breaker.
The 7-speed DSG with its slick shifts further makes driving both these cars as easy as ABC. While the transmission is prompt to respond to inputs for the most part, there is a slight bit of hesitation at times, especially when you go hard on the accelerator pedal. But that is something you can easily get used to.
The real difference between the two cars comes to fore in the ride and handling department. The T-Roc has a stiffer setup, which, combined with its compact dimensions and its lightweight construction, makes it feel more agile. Body roll is well contained as well, and it rides a lot more flatter when you're attacking corners. The steering wheel feels marginally heavier than the Karoq, and that adds to the overall drive experience. Needless to say, the stiffer springs do make the overall ride quality in the city a lot more harsher. Even when you're tackling potholes and surface undulations at low and medium speeds, it does not go unnoticed. Even the surface joints and undulations are met with an audible thud, and the jerks are transferred to the passengers inside. In the city, the Karoq also manages to tackle the bad roads a lot more better than the T-Roc. The suspension isn't as stiff as the one on the T-Roc, and that makes it that much more pliant when you're tackling bad roads. Of course, that has a corresponding effect in the handling, but that is a compromise most people will happily be willing to make. So is the Karoq really worth the additional money then? Well, the short answer is yes. For the extra 5 lakhs that you pay, you get a larger car with more spacious interiors, you get premium looking interiors with leather upholstery and all of that, and you get a longer features list and more safety tech as well. The little that the Karoq loses in terms of performance and handling, it more than makes it up in terms of ride quality. That being said, you cannot write off the T-Roc as it appeals to a more focused buyer with driving pleasure at the crux of his car buying decision. It has to be said though that neither of these cars are great value for money propositions, and that is down to the fact that both of them have been brought into India as CBUs. Still, if you choose to invest in these imported cars, rest assured you will not be disappointed. Our pick of the lot has to be the Karoq for its all-round sophisticated and mature appeal.